Good morning, everyone. Well, today is another day and another time, and it's time to share some things with you. Yesterday and today, I woke up early. Yesterday it was 5:55. Today I don't even know what time it was, but it was before 6 o'clock. And I woke up crying because memories that were flooding back into my mind. And yesterday I asked the Lord, please take these memories from me. Don't let them keep hurting me. And if I have to remember, Lord, I pray that it helps someone else heal. And that's when I realized that I had to share this. Because what the enemy meant for my harm, God is going to use. Not just for my good, but for the good of so many others who've been through similar instances. I felt like I had to do this video. But first I had to finish my taxes, which I got done at 2 a.m. But I did have lunch with a sister in Christ and a dear friend yesterday. And I just started telling her what I was feeling and what was coming back to me. And she shared with me that she had had similar instances in her life. And while I was eating my lunch, she told me that yesterday morning her husband looked at her and told her that I, Judy, have a huge mansion in heaven. Because I'm obedient. And I answered God, yes, I will. And as I was taking that bite of that hand roll, I began to cry because the Lord showed me that after I make this video, I won't be a stress eater anymore. Because every demon attached to those events will be gone. And I won't need to stress eat anymore. So I'm going to share with you all what came flooding back to me yesterday morning and again this morning. See, when I was very little, the older girls, 2 older girls in the neighborhood, would take me into the woods and molest me. And they told me that I couldn't tell my mom, because if I told my mom, I would get in so much trouble, and then their mom wouldn't ever let them play with me again, and I wouldn't have any friends in the neighborhood anymore. I lived on a cul-de-sac with 15 children. We played baseball in the street. We played football in the street. We had a basketball net on one of the telephone poles. We played basketball all the time. We played dodgeball in between the Naumans and the Chuchi's houses. We played Barbies at everybody's house. We colored at everybody's house. We would bring all of our 45 records up to the Naumans, and they would play it on their radio or their record player, and we would all dance in the backyard. A fallen tree in the woods behind our house was a horse for 15 kids to ride. Grapevines, we were all Tarzan. We would swing across the gullies and across the creeks. We caught salamanders and crawdads, and we hunted blackberries. Every day we'd all run into the woods and play, and it was so much fun until the first time the girls decided they needed to play doctor and I had to be the patient. I remember one time I came home and my mom was giving me a bath, and there was twigs and grass in my underwear. And she got so upset and asked me how it got there. And I couldn't tell her that Debbie and Dory took my pants off in the woods. I was 5. I'd get in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. And then I wouldn't have anybody to play with. So I lied. I told her when I fell down the hill, they went in my pants. The first time that Doreen spent the night at my house, she brought her Ghosts and Goblins game. Had little plastic ghosts that glowed in the dark. And when my parents put us to bed, Doreen sexually assaulted me with those. And again told me, shh, don't tell anybody. And my parents won't let me play with you because you're being a bad girl. Never said that she was being a bad girl, and I wouldn't be allowed to play with her because she was doing the bad thing. It was always me. I was the bad one. So when I was about 8, and my older cousin Roger, who was, I guess, 5 or 7 years older than me. He was close to my brother's age. When he started assaulting me, it was the same thing. Oh, you better not tell anybody or you're gonna get in so much trouble because you're not supposed to do this. Not if you tell, I'm gonna get in trouble and I'm gonna have to stop doing this. Because if you'd told me that, I'd have told my dad. I remember one time, I was in the back seat of my uncle's car in the garage, and my cousin was holding me down. And he had his hand over my mouth because my dad was calling me, and I couldn't answer back. Because my cousin, he wasn't finished doing what he was doing. He never had intercourse with me, but he assaulted me and molested me so that he could enjoy himself. And I told my friends, My friends, I told my other assaulters, Debbie and Dory. And they told me, don't tell anybody. You'll get in a lot of trouble. So I didn't. And every time I went to my aunt and uncle's, they would find a way to get me alone. And do things. And what was worse was I got headaches a lot from when the arrow went through the soft palate of my mouth when I was 3. And I remember that I would be spending a week or a few days with my Aunt Lowell and Uncle Tommy. And my head would hurt so bad. And I'd have to sleep with them. And if I wasn't, well, I would sleep with my cousin Carol, and she was much older than me. And she always had her Playboy books beside the bed. So of course, when I was little, I read those. Pictures were gross. Articles were too much for me to understand, but they were there. For a little girl to read that shouldn't have been reading them. Which of course leads into the porn books and smut books that my mom had all over the house. Of course I read. When my mom was gonna have to move in with me after my stepfather died, her stepdad died, she wanted all of her paperbacks so bad. It was so important for her to have those, that she had even said something to her brother that she had to have her books. But by then I was serving my Lord 24/7. And I knew I couldn't have that smut in my house around my children and the habitation of my God. So I had them cleaned out of my mom's house before she could move them up here. When I cleaned out my mom's basement to move her up here, there were 12 trucks. Well, maybe it wasn't 12, maybe it was 8 trucks from 1-800 got drunk to clean out that basement. Just throw away all the stuff that she never threw away over the years. But that's another story for another day. We gotta get back to this story. So my cousin Roger molested me. Debbie and Dory molested me. And then when I was 9, my parents got divorced. And we moved into this apartment building, my mom and my stepdad and I. And I was home alone all the time. Mom and Jim would leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work at Avon. And I would have to get myself ready for school. And then after school, they would go to the VFW. Well, after work, they would go to the VFW, and they wouldn't come home until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, so I was on my own. Excuse me. And I remember I was playing with all the kids one day, and most of them had parents that would call them in to dinner, and I didn't have anybody, so I stayed and played on the swings. And this big older kid, Barry, I think it was Barry Williams, he saw me on the swings, and he came over running at me. And I jumped off the swings and I went to run home because I just knew something bad was going to happen. And he was faster than me, and he knocked me down, and he jumped on me, and I'm screaming. And all of a sudden I hear this man's voice screaming and yelling. And Barry jumped up and ran away. And I sat up crying. And I was looking, and I didn't see anybody. But somebody saved me from what that boy was going to do to me. So I went back to my apartment and I locked myself in. And I just started eating. It was pretty hard though, because the only thing there was junk. Oreos, salami, and crackers. I ate a lot of Oreos, salami, and crackers over the next 3 years. And then we moved into our new neighborhood. When I was in 6th grade, I lost all the friends that I made between 4th grade and 6th grade. I'd already lost all the friends that I grew up with.